demand of our profession. As I sit before you today representing our incredible joint force, I want to emphasize my commitment to this committee and to the Congress. I will always follow General Marshall's steadfast example by providing clear and candid, nonpartisan military advice, working together to ensure the military remains squarely focused on one thing: being prepared to deter and, if called upon, fight and win our nation's war. And that is our mission. America's joint force is operational at its core, purpose-built for the realities in a complex world. We're organized, trained, and equipped to execute the most demanding missions across the globe with unrivaled precision. And over the past year, our warfighters have consistently demonstrated exactly what it means to be the most capable and most professional force on earth. Our shared goal is to ensure the joint force sustains the strategic initiative and advantage and ability to project power to respond to the global challenges on our nation's terms. During Operation Rough Rider, Midnight Hammer, Southern Spear, Absolute Resolve, and Epic Fury, the joint force executed globally integrated missions alongside our interagency and international partners. And once our leaders made a decision, our forces demonstrated the unmatched ability to seamlessly synchronize actions and activities from the seabed to cislunar space. We're able to accomplish these complex things that we are asked to do because we draw from a deep reservoir of training, professionalism, and commitment. Our operational tempo is high, but we're designed to sustain it, rebuilding readiness every day, training professionals every day, and sharpening our edge every day. And I am incredibly proud of this joint force team and the leaders at every echelon who command it. As the chairman said, we are living in a complex environment. Today, I look forward to discussing how we can sustain America's military advantage. And I know this committee recognizes the challenges and the urgency in the environment that we face. We're operating in delicate and dangerous times where risk is scaling, and the complexity of the modern battlefield demands America's constant adaptation, innovation, and partnership with Congress. As a joint force, we're up to the challenge. We're built for this environment. However, our continued success is not guaranteed by our past achievements. We must continue to be forward-looking and innovate together with the Congress. To drive the pace of change and maintain our superiority requires timely, predictable, and sustained investment. And the resources we're going to discuss today are critical to modernizing the joint force and ensuring whatever threats might emerge, we are prepared to defeat them, to protect our interests, and defend the nation and win. This President's budget for 2027 supports the Secretary and the Department's goal of reinvigorating, recharging the defense industrial base and the national industrial base, enhancing our readiness and securing our military advantage to ensure that our warfighters are properly armed, globally integrated, and ready while always taking care of our people. And that is what truly sets America's joint force apart from each other, especially the 1.8 million members, enlisted members of our joint force. It is them, the character, the competence of that force that transforms our capabilities into a decisive advantage. And our enlisted force is represented today by the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman, United States Navy Fleet Master Chief Dave Isom, sitting behind me, a teammate who I greatly appreciate and many of you on this committee know from his time in the Indo-Pacific. While we face dynamic and dangerous times, I have absolute trust and confidence in the extraordinary men and women within our joint force who every day execute the missions we ask them to quietly and with precision. And coupled with the American spirit to outthink, outcompete, and relentlessly innovate, we will maintain our decisive edge but doing so requires your continued partnership. We stand ready today to answer the nation's call. I humbly ask that as we're here today in this hearing, we remember those deployed service members who are out there right now doing our nation's work. And may we always remember our fallen and never forget them or their families who continue to show us what courage looks like. Thank you for your enduring support, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, General. We appreciate your service. Let's jump right in. Secretary Hegseth, let's talk about the money from Reconciliation 1.0 last year. There have been some complaints about the speed, but not everything we hear is actually accurate. How much of the $154 billion from Reconciliation has the Pentagon put on contract?
My understanding, Mr. Chairman, first I'd like to say what an important vehicle Reconciliation was for us and how it gave us a chance coming out of FY25 to advance the president's priorities, whether it's drone dominance, Golden Dome for America, shipbuilding, the defense industrial base. It was a critical vehicle for us. The number you're looking for is about, what I'm looking at, about $26 billion right now. But we've got the floodgates about to open and apply to those priorities. Okay, so unfortunately, you're starting a bit late through no fault of your own because the money was not sent timely by the Office of Management and Budget to the department until last month. That's over and done with, but it should be mentioned. Mr. Secretary, where are we on the obligation rates as far as a normal appropriation bill? Are we a little behind, a little ahead, or what? I would say probably a little bit behind as it pertains to Reconciliation, but part of that is, as you know, this is a new funding vehicle for the department. And twofold. One, you got to make sure you do it right and do it in a fiscally responsible way in conjunction with the Congress to ensure that we meet congressional intent. But also that we've been using it to energize our ability to exercise new pathways, to get at problems in different and more dynamic ways that don't get stovepiped or stuck in the bureaucracy. So yes, there's been some delays, but ultimately I think it's all goodness on the other side, given the new nature of this funding vehicle.
Right. Yes. Well, and things have been done differently, and we appreciate that. But Mr. Secretary, will you commit to us that you'll keep the committee informed frequently of your efforts to get all this money out the door so our industrial base can start building as you have described in this new flexibility that we provided them?
Absolutely.
And you mentioned a few things in Reconciliation that you think have been game changers. I don't think we've talked enough about some of the game changers. For years, we failed to take action on rebuilding America's drone industrial base and critical mineral supply chains. After last Reconciliation bill and the National Defense Authorization Act, we're in a very different position on drones and critical mineral supply chains, are we not?
Very much so. Mineral supply chains, drones, we went from JIATA 401 to an autonomous warfare group. We're looking at the concept of a sub-unified command, and you're looking at $54 billion in the FY27 budget dedicated to drone dominance, UAS, counter-UAS, ensuring we can scale not just exquisite drones, but also the attritable ones that are proliferating on the battlefield today. We need to be ahead.
Are there any other initiatives from last year's bill that you want to point out? And you only have a minute and a half.
The investment in Golden Dome for America,
right.
The ability to get running on that, and we are on schedule to deliver capabilities inside this administration. Minerals and shoring up supply chains on minerals. The Office of Strategic Capital, which its ability to loan gives 10x to new entrants into the department, the opportunity to fund things that wouldn't normally meet the threshold for the department, but give them the running room to invest in those capabilities, and we've already seen fruit from that as well.
And briefly, General Caine, there's no question that Vladimir Putin's Russia is taking serious action to undermine our efforts for success in Iran. Is there any question about that?
Senator, I think there's actions and activities that are mindful of the hearing room we're in, but there's definitely some action there.
Thank you very much. Senator Reed, you're recognized.
Thank
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, you recently fired the Army Chief of Staff, General Randy George, who's one of the most distinguished and decorated officers of his generation. General George's nomination came before us. We reviewed it thoroughly, and we concurred. Why did you fire General George?
Well, as I did then, and I'll say now, we thank General George for his service. And out of respect to him and other officers, we never talk about the nature of why certain officers are asked to step down. But we all serve at the pleasure of the president. And ultimately, my view in coming into this department, as I stated in my confirmation hearing, was to change the culture of the department. And it's ultimately challenging to change the department, the culture of a department with the same people who are a part of or in that department. So I have made many changes with general officers. We will continue to make changes as necessary with general officers, and they will be in keeping with the trajectory of where we would like to take the department. But it doesn't take away from the service of those. And I think you will note that every officer that's been asked to leave has been treated with respect.
Interesting. Of the 24 officers that you have fired for reasons unrelated to performance, since you have not indicated any cause, 60% are black or females. Now, did the president direct you to single out female and black officers to be dismissed?
Senator, of course not. And as we've emphasized at this department from the beginning, the only metric is merit. Members on this committee and the previous leadership of this department were focused on social engineering, race and gender in ways that we think were unhealthy for the department, focusing on those things, making decisions based on those things.
Okay.
In President Trump's War Department, we make decisions based on only one thing, merit. And that's how we've made decisions going forward. That's how we've made them, and that's how we'll make them going forward.
Well, let me go back to General George. What did he fail in terms of his lack of merit to continue serving?
As I said, I don't talk about the nature of dismissal out of respect
use
for these
that as an
officers.
excuse, and then
but ultimately,
you don't
we
talk
want to
about
take the department in a particular direction, certain services in a particular direction, and we want leadership that's running as fast in that direction as possible. And in some cases, we make changes accordingly, but do so out of respect to those officers.
Well, I think that direction from your behavior is an intense interest in Christianity, in nationalism, and in not recognizing the talents of women and non-white gentlemen, and that's the wrong direction.
I don't know what you're insinuating, Senator, but I am not ashamed of my faith in Jesus Christ. No,
Well,
I'm not.
you shouldn't be
And
ashamed.
if you want to shame me for it, go ahead.
I'm not shaming you, but are you critical of other faiths?
I am a believer. I'm quite open in that, and our department allows for a multitude of faiths. So I don't know what you're suggesting. I've heard the likes of things that people like you suggest to try to smear my character, and I won't give into it.
No. I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary, but broadcasting before the national religious broadcasters stressing the need for more Christianity in the military forces doesn't seem like a neutral position in which you tolerate and accept all religions. Let me move on. The strategic aspects of this operation in Iran. The president declared that we're going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. And after more than 13,000 strikes, unclassified assessments conclude that Iran retains more than 40% of its drone arsenal and 60% of its ballistic missile launches compared with pre-war levels. That's one of his objectives. The second objective was regime change. To the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand, and we will take over your government. Well, when we finish, we'll take over government. That has not succeeded. And then one of his other things is at the onset of the war, the president said, we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. Military operations in Iran have not achieved that goal yet. And it also seems to indicate that his pronouncements about Operation Midnight Hammer obliterating the nuclear policy and structure of the Iranians was false. So you have not achieved any of the objectives yet that has the president mentioned.
Well, in this setting, I won't talk about the nature of metrics, which are classified, as you know, Senator. But I can say that looking at the objectives we set out to achieve from the beginning, some of which you laid out, our military objectives have been stunningly effective. Take, for example, their defense industrial base. They're completely incapable at scale at any level of reconstituting the capabilities you referred to, which is a devastating result for any country, especially one whose ambitions are as wide as Iran's. So we've put the president in a very strong position to ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. That's the takeaway that's been underneath every single aspect of this. For 47 years, Iran's trying to blackmail its way to a nuclear weapon. They were closer than ever before because of bad deals under previous administration. President Trump was willing to do something about it and not allow their conventional missile shield. That's the North Korea strategy. That's, to be clear, what Iran was pursuing. Hiding their nuclear ambitions, revealing them over time, and then building a conventional shield of missiles so powerful that no country would challenge them for fear of what would happen if they unleashed that arsenal. Weakened after the 12-day war and Midnight Hammer, which did obliterate their sites, President Trump saw an opportunity because their ambitions continued to ensure that umbrella of nuclear blackmail did not allow them to get to a nuclear weapon. And the world is safer because of his bold and historic choice.
Mr. Secretary, I think that's rhetorical but not factual. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Reid. Mr. Secretary, Mr. Hurst, General Caine, welcome. Over the last several months, I've worked closely with some of the new direct reporting program managers, and I've been encouraged by how they're approaching the department's most complex acquisition systems. General White's pulled forward the next milestone for the Sentinel program by at least 6 months. General Gutlein has completed the initial blueprint for the Golden Dome architecture and is beginning to build it out. For years, this committee has known that we must improve our ability to defend our homeland against a wider variety of threats. And we finally have a partner with the full backing of the department to lead the charge. Mr. Secretary, what's the advantage of this new type of program management structure?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. It's acquisition authority, technical authority, contracting authority. It's consolidating decision-making in one place under a highly screened, highly capable general, General White and General Gutlein, who know that terrain extremely well and understand what mistakes have been made in the past in programs of that magnitude, and then are given the authority to cut through the red tape. That's the key. Success or failure lands with them, and they know it. And as a result, they're incentivized to ensure that program, and then given every dollar and authority needed to move it as quickly as possible. So whether it's Sentinel, whether it's F-47, whether it's Golden Dome for America, these critical strategic assets, the direct report construct, along with Deputy Secretary Feinberg, who is a national treasure and is changing the way we do business at this department, is giving us a chance to ensure these critical systems are delivered.
Thank you. And General Caine, can you give us your thoughts on why the Golden Dome received why they must receive that requested $17 billion in funding for the fiscal year 27?
Well, Senator, it's as you know, it's an essential part of our Homeland Security layered defense, and as General Gutlein begins to do the work that you're asking about, and frankly helping to advance, you know, the insurance around that down payment, charging the defense industrial base with those capital allocations will allow them to get after it much quicker. We appreciate the help.
And if there's a delay in that funding?
Well, I hopefully there won't be, Senator, because we've got a leader on that account 24/7, 365. But if we do, we'll always, of course, come back and talk to the Congress, but also figure out what has to be true to help that constraint get removed in that production system. And that's really what we're asking these leaders to do, is to be able to get past the theory of constraints.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Hegseth, I agree with your statement on nuclear deterrence when you said nothing else matters if we don't get this right, so we will. We need a modernized nuclear triad and NC3 architecture that can credibly deter multiple adversaries instead of an insufficient nuclear force structure based on fundamentally flawed assumptions made 16 years ago. Our presidents must also have a more diverse set of options so that they can effectively manage more complex nuclear escalation dynamics. So, Mr. Secretary, how does this budget request achieve those objectives?
Well, thank you for your leadership on this issue for a very long time. First and foremost, it invests in it. $71 billion in our nuclear triad and NC3, understanding that if you get that wrong, you get everything else wrong. Frankly, it's why the Iran effort is so important. Imagine what the situation in the region would look like if Iran also wielded a nuclear weapon, and the limits it would put on our capabilities in those situations. Our adversaries have to deal with that dilemma because of the strength of our nuclear triad. So that $71 billion investment, the DERPMs that have been put over top of it to move those systems left, as you acknowledged, it's just been a priority since we came into the building, and we're funding it accordingly.
And Chairman Caine, Secretary Hegseth, whoever would like to answer this, should our nuclear command control and communication systems like the SAOC be given the same level of priority as Congress considers the department's budget request as our triad?
I think so, but I defer to the chairman.
Yes, ma'am. We got to be able to see to anything. So, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Senator Shaheen, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Secretary Hegseth, Congress enacted $400 million to provide security assistance to Ukraine in January. Now, the committee received a notification just yesterday confirming only that the funding would go toward Ukraine. It contained no details about the type of equipment, no delivery timelines, nothing that is typically included in these notifications. And when asked about the delay in funding, the committee was told that Bridge Colby was developing a spend plan, but we've received nothing. So when can we expect the full spend plan for this appropriation? And Madam Chair, can I, if this is not already part of the record for the committee, can I enter it into the record? Without objection.
We acknowledge and are executing on the European capacity building amount of $400 million that you referred to. Undersecretary Colby's done a great job looking at options and worked very closely with our European commander, General Grinkowitz. So his requests of what makes the most sense will inform what ultimately is invested in.
Well, this notification says that EUCOM coordinated on the spend plan in March, but General Grinkowitz told this committee on April 16th that he had not yet been asked to review any spend plan for this appropriation. So, General Caine, have you received the spend plan for funds in Ukraine, and have you asked the EUCOM commander for his concurrence?
I do not believe so, but I will find out, Senator, and get back to you by the end of the day.
Thank you. And yesterday, Mr. Hurst, you told the House that you needed to seek legal review to appropriate the funds as Congress intended. So can you share with us what the nature of that legal review is? And seems to me the law was pretty clear. I saw it. It was part of the defense appropriations bill that we passed in January. And as you know, violating congressional intent on appropriating funds is a violation of the Impoundment Control Act. So what's the nature of the legal review that you have to get?
Thanks for the question, Senator. What we were looking at is if we could use the funds in the same manner as USAI, and we had our counsel look at that. And so they provide us a legal opinion on how the funds could be used to support European capacity building.
And can you share with this committee what that legal opinion is?
Ma'am, I don't have a copy of that, but we can ask the OGC office if they can supply it to you.
Madam Chair, can we ask that that legal opinion is shared with the committee officially? Thank you. Also, I don't know who can answer this, but it says that consistent with the President's priority to shift the financial burden of Ukraine support to European partners, the United States will seek commensurate financial contributions via the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PEARL, from the European partners for this program. So what's the justification for using PEARL when there's $400 million in appropriated funds? Can somebody answer?
PEARL is a reflection of the President's priority and the belief that any weapons that are supplied are paid for by European partners and used as they see fit, whether it's Ukraine or somewhere else.
But that was not the intent of Congress in providing that $400 million. As I understand the PEARL program, the Europeans purchase those weapons from the United States and they pay for them. But this appropriation was $400 million that Congress expected to be provided to Ukraine, not paid for by the Europeans, but provided from the United States to support Ukraine. So again, I don't understand what the justification is for using PEARL when that's not the intent that Congress provided.
We're following the intent of European capacity building, but at the same time recognizing that wherever PEARL can be utilized so that the Europeans contribute to that fight, per the burden sharing approach that this president takes, is important.
Congressional intent. And that's what I'm asking you, why you're using PEARL to do something that Congress intended to go directly to Ukraine.
Well,
Mr.
we look
Hurst,
forward to
can
working
you
with
answer
you on
that? What was the legal opinion on this? Did you ask the attorneys if the $400 million could be used for the PEARL program?
Let's get back to you. We'll take it for the record, ma'am.
Thank you. And what portion of the funding that's committed from the Europeans under PEARL is being used to assist Ukraine rather than restocking our own shelves? Can you answer us that?
That's up to Europe. Ultimately, Europe pays for any weapons that we provide, and they can utilize them as they see fit, whether it's Ukraine or otherwise.
Thank you, Senator
Thank you.
Shaheen. There have been a number of times when our witnesses have stated, both in the closed hearing and up here, that they will get back to us. And we certainly hope that will happen very expeditiously. So thank you very much, and thank you, Senator Shaheen. Senator Cotton.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your appearance today. Mr. Secretary, you provided us with a chart here entitled The Arsenal of Freedom, which includes a lot of sites that you visited. My favorite one is down here in South Arkansas, Camden, where you and I had a chance to visit just a couple months ago, highlighting the great work that the people there are doing to help rebuild our arsenal of freedom. Thank you, first off, for being there and for your kind words for the workforce of the people of South Arkansas. Isn't it fair to say that the war in Iran, just like the Ukraine war before it and still today, hasn't caused any challenges with our munitions the way some of our Democratic colleagues would say, but it's exposed a decades-old problem of brittleness and fragility in our defense industrial base before you and General Caine took over, and that we're trying to address right now?
In many ways, that's precisely what we're trying to address. We also have a situation where President Trump rebuilt our military in the first term, and a lot of those munitions and a lot of those capabilities were sent to Ukraine under the previous administration, to the point where when we ask our commanders or when we look at O plans, the answer often is that was sent to Ukraine. So the recognition of those two things has, as the president gave us a charge from day one, to rebuild the arsenal of freedom, to fast forward, not to provide a little bit more of each thing, but 2x, 3x, 4x the number of exquisite munitions that we need. The expenditures that we've seen under this administration, we can account for them, and we ensure that other O plans and elsewhere are well taken care of. So on the munitions front, we're in really good shape, but we need to accelerate, and that's exactly what we're doing.
And I think that's an important point you make, is that we're not just trying to fill a hole that was created by epic fury or by support for Ukraine. We're going to fill that and then go much beyond that for our needs in the future. So we're never caught where we were over the last several years with these worries about munitions running short. Is that right, Mr. Secretary?
That's exactly right. The president has charged up with not just replacing anything, but filling it up, as he might say, to the tippy top, and make sure that the remainder of this term and future presidents have all the munitions they need for any level of contingencies, especially considering the dangerous world we live in.
I want to turn now to Operation Epic Fury. It's been a smashing military success. Unfortunately, we have suffered casualties, to include soldiers killed in the line of action. Obviously, our military takes the greatest steps possible to protect our troops, whether they are in action or whether they are on bases in the region. No war, though, is antiseptic. Mr. Secretary, could you explain some of the steps we've taken to try to minimize, to the greatest extent we can, the number of casualties we've taken in the Middle East?
First of all, every day we live to ensure that we follow through on the legacy of those who gave everything. So that's front and center for us. But I can also say, and the chairman may want to weigh in, from the beginning of looking at the possibility of this contingency, setting the defense and ensuring that Admiral Cooper and everyone throughout CENTCOM had every possible measure they could to ensure that our troops are protected and force protection was maximized was the top priority. Moving assets to the region, we integrated our air defenses with local Gulf countries to ensure our shot doctrine was maximized, whether it's ballistic missiles or on drones, flowing in the most recent capabilities to ensure we can intercept drones, moving troops off the X. I think what people mostly don't know is that a massive effort was undertaken before this conflict to move as many humans off of targets to other places and maintain operational security about where they might be to minimize the space with which Iran could hit. We always knew something getting through was a tragic possibility. But I can assure you, from our perspective, that was priority number one, as it was Admiral Cooper's, to ensure that fortification and missile defenses were right there when we went on offense if we had to.
General Caine, do you have anything to add?
Well, in addition to just, again, mourning our fallen from the 103rd, what I'll add to the Secretary's comments is after every tragic loss, commanders at every echelon within our joint force are going to go back and look at what was our plan and what lessons we can learn from this so that we protect and defend our soldiers, sailors, and other members of the joint force the next time.
Thank you. And I know you do, and I just wanted to give you the opportunity to speak to what you've done to try to prevent casualties and minimize them. Obviously, again, no war is antiseptic. One final question. I understand you've been accused of lying to the president. Mr. Hegseth, have you lied to the president at all about what's happening in Iran or Epic Fury?
No, only tell the truth to the president.
General Caine, have you lied to the president about what's happening in Iran or Operation Epic Fury?
Never.
I suspected that would be your answer, but since you were accused of it and deep staters are leaking to the media about it as well, I just wanted to give you a chance to answer on the record that, of course, you've always given the president a completely accurate picture of what's happening. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Senator Cotton. Senator Gillibrand and then Senator Rounds.
Thank you, gentlemen, for appearing before this committee, and thank you for the closed session prior to this. I don't know if you fully appreciate how much the American people do not support this war. It is an unauthorized war. Normally, when you come to Congress, it's a way for the American people to be part of that discussion. The American people, particularly in my state of New York, are upset for a lot of reasons. First of all, this war is costing so much money. Over $25 billion already, estimates $1 billion a day, and they're feeling it every single day at the gas pump with higher prices for both fuel, for diesel, for gasoline for their cars. They're also feeling it with higher grocery costs, and they're exhausted. They are truly exhausted. On top of that, they have so many grave concerns about how this war is being prosecuted. They read in the paper that 22 schools have been hit. They read in the paper about a girls' school, hundreds getting killed. We have a debate going on in this country about AI, a serious debate about AI. And I haven't heard yet from you that you will not allow AI to make final targeting determinations, even when nuclear weapons are being used. That's a huge issue that we need to discuss. So I want to start from the top, Secretary Hegseth. Why do you continue to prosecute a war that the American people aren't behind?
First of all, I appreciate the opportunity for that closed session where we had a